Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Coffee Run Live, episode 602. We are going live early this morning because I feel like it. I've got some things that I've got happening today, and I was like, all right, there's some things that I need to get done, and I really wanted to come and talk to you first of all. So, hello. Now, this morning, what I really wanted to chat with you about is kind of like, I guess, finding a way to recharge, rejuvenate, regenerate, and that kind of stuff. So, what I wanted to share with you is a little bit about how I was, I guess, like, I've been feeling a little creatively challenged, right? Which is annoying for those of you who are used to kind of having things like right at the ends of your fingertips. It can be very well annoying, feeling like there's a bit of lack of inspiration happening, feeling a bit kind of flat and funky and not my super normal happy self. Now, what for me, the first thing that kind of I go through is like, all right, well, what are the causes of this? Because it's really rare that I would feel like this. And what we know is we've had here in Victoria, like there's been COVID stuff happening. I needed to make the national tour virtual, which is fine. I should have been, I was supposed to be traveling to Sydney today from Perth. And like we found out last week that we might not be able to go to our skating competition this coming weekend. So for me, it's kind of like last week, I know I came in and I said to you that I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do last week. We had a public holiday on the Monday. And honestly, I allowed myself a bit of a pity party. And it's not like I don't always advocate for these, right? But for me, what it was is like I found it really hard to kind of move through the things that I would normally move through like with relative ease. So what I did, like here's my version of a pity party, right? So my version of the Nicola Moras pity party was I renovated. Well, I painted my office in here. I painted the big windows that I look out of. Not that I didn't paint the windows. I painted some of the windows. I painted the wood around the windows. I did all of that to make sure it was all lovely and fresh, and the door ended up white and the skirtings and the cupboards and all that kind of thing. So that was the first thing that I did, because I know that for me, being inactive is actually unhelpful. So for me, I know that I'm better off in terms of my mood, my energy, and things like that. To recharge, I'm better off to move. So renovating, painting, doing that kind of thing is really important. But I also drafted a new course, and I think this is kind of this came quite out of left field, actually. As you know, I do a call in the mornings at 6 a.m. with a group of people with our Implement Like a Boss calls. And this is like every day for a whole entire month. We get up at 6 a.m. and we talk about, well, you guys talk about what your commitments are for the day, any questions that you need, and really working on this increased level of productivity and increased level of focus. So I'd gotten up to do that call, but before that call, I was like, this is a thing that just, it felt like it went blah out of me, which is how my new courses kind of flow out. And so they all ended up in my journal, and I've mapped it all out. I'm like, this is really kind of fun. And it was reflected back to me by one of my best friends that actually I tend to get a lot of ideas when I'm renovating or when I'm doing something different. It's like, yeah, of course. The thing for me is that I always still follow routines. Right? So I still up at 6. I still worked out every single day. I still went for a walk, either 3 or 4 kilometers for a walk. We were able to skate last week, so I still skated last week. So I still followed routines. That for me is super important. I also studied. So as you know, some of you know that I'm doing a degree in natural medicine, and I have been studying. So that was cool. And then the fifth thing that I did to make sure that I was sort of like really rejuvenating so that I could be the best that I could be on Thursday and Friday last week for Visible Live, I gave myself permission just to like ride whatever the wave was, right? And so what that meant was that like I came into Visible Live on Thursday and Friday so excited, so pumped, and beyond excited to see what brilliance would come out of the brains of the people who were here and who were watching. So what I thought I would share with you are some really important things, I guess, to help you, move through and recharge, but then also build and grow your visibility, build and grow the things that you want to be able to do, and really get yourself out there, because your audience is absolutely waiting for you to do that. Okay, so the first thing, let me just grab my notes because I want to make sure that I get this really clear for you. So the first thing that you need to do, and this is always the very, very first thing that we do in every Visible Live, and actually in most workshops or most programs and things like that I run, it's so important for you to get clear on you first and foremost. So for me, the way that I like to think about this, and this is something, we're coming up towards the end of the financial year here in Australia. It's almost the 1st of July. Can you believe it? It's ridiculous. And so it's kind of like this new, clean, fresh slate that we get, whether it's at the middle of the year or the start of a new financial year, depending on the country that you're in. But it's a nice, even mix, between the first half of the year and then the second half of the year. So get clear on what it is that you want. What do you want? Like, really, what is it that you really, really, really want? If there were no limits, no barriers, if there was nothing to get in your way, what is it that you really, really want? What is it that you really want to create? And then when you get really clear on that, the second thing that becomes a whole lot easier for you to kind of consider and think about is remembering or knowing who it is that you really want to help. Right? Now, I know that a ton of you, the world of internet and online, we'll call it the internet marketing, which is online marketing and internet marketing, is not a new concept. Like, niching is not a new concept. We've all had this come through. We all know that this is a really important thing. But most people, when you go through it, you're not thinking about it from a place of really immersing yourself in this person for an extended period of time, right? So what we did in Visible Live, we spent probably the second half of day 1 and the first part of day 2 just solely working on who your ideal audience is and getting to know them really, really well. Knowing what their problems are, their challenges are, their 3 o'clock in the morning, shitty stories, what their goals, their dreams, and their desires are. And, the best way for you to get clear on what that is for you to actually immerse yourself in a process for yourself first. So like that step 1 has to be done really, really well. So, what is it you want? Where are you going? What goals do you have? What's holding you back? What's the self-talk that's holding you back? And we all have this, whether it's imposter syndrome, whether it's, beating yourself up about thinking that you don't know enough, or that you don't have enough audience, or that you're not visible enough yet, or that you're not a good public speaker, or that you're not clear on what your message is, or that you don't really have anything original to say. That all of that stuff. And then we get into, what are the problems or the challenges that you're having around your health or your social life or your family or your love or your relationships or your connection to intuition. When we start to do the work first on you, then we get into the work on your niche, and it makes it so much easier. And the reason for this is that your niche is actually probably really not that different from a humanity perspective to how you are, right? And yet we think, oh no, I'm nothing like my niche. Well, actually, my audience, my clients are all very similar to me. Like, we've all had these similar sorts of self-talk and doubts and worries and concerns and stress points. So it's really important that you really know these people intimately. Right? Your ideal audience, your hot, cold clients, I call them. And we've got to remember that they're actually multifaceted. They've got lots of different areas in your life. For instance, I know that yes, you want to be visible, you want to get yourself out there, or that being visible and that getting yourself out there is a means to an end. It's going to help you get more clients, it's going to help you to create more impact. But if we think about it, you've also got, you're probably juggling all kinds of things around your personal life. You're juggling all kinds of things in your business. You're juggling all kinds of things with your health. Maybe you have, like a lot of people that I work with when they start working with me, Maybe you've forgotten how to have fun. Maybe you've forgotten what fun was outside of your business, outside of your, perhaps your kids or your animals. Like, what is fun? I remember in 2013, a mentor of mine said, Nick, what do you do for fun? And I've just kind of like laughed, like in hindsight, like a crazy person. So my business is fun. I don't have time if I'm not working, I'm with my family. If I'm not working, I'm with my kids. If I'm not working, I'm organizing all of that side of things. All of those things can take all of my time. So I was really neglecting any other aspect of myself, from a fun perspective, even though I love the shit out of my business, right? And I'm going, well, I have a massage once a year. That's pretty fun. And my mentors at the time have gone like, dude, there's like this whole part of you that's, feeling that's being unfulfilled, basically. So, I know that a lot of people, before they start working with me, they can be in that mode as well. And in fact, having fun outside of business is one of the things that can really refuel and regenerate you, which is the whole thing of what we're talking about today, can recharge you and help you to tap back in to your creativity, help you tap back into your inspiration, and help you tap back into, the things that you really want to do and the things that you really, really want to say. So once you know that you're really clear, you know who your audience is, and you've really immersed yourself in who they are, then it's time for you to start working out, all right, well, what is it that can I do to go and help those people? What kinds of things do they really need to hear today? And then you're going out there and you're putting your stuff out there. I think one of the big things that most people really underestimate the power of is a really good, strong, powerful framework that allows them flexibility and freedom within it as well, right? So I'm very driven by, all right, what do I feel like talking about today? And yet, if I'm stuck, I will look at my Web of Awesome, which you can see over here behind my shoulder. I'll go to my Web of Awesome and I'll be like, all right, out of all of these things on here, what do I feel like talking about? And that usually, because it's a framework, that then has me feeling, okay, great. I'm on track. I know what I'm going to say. I know how it is that I can say it. I know that it's going to be super helpful because I've used all of that stuff that we've just talked about earlier today to build out a system and a process that I know is going to be helpful. So that's what helps me. That's what recharges me. That's what re-inspires me is having laid a whole lot of foundational stuff first of all, and then getting back into it. But also being okay with taking some time out. And you know what? It's Monday here in Australia. The sun has come up. We've actually got blue sky today, which is really lovely. We've woken up to rain most mornings for the last week, which is really, really weird here, even in winter. And it's kind of like, you know what? The world didn't end. I didn't die. The world is still turning. The sun is still shining. The internet is still working. I think the world has gone fucking crazy. Like, that hasn't changed. That's still there. And I think that's part of my frustration last week was I just felt like I didn't have any kind of sense of control over the choices that I was able to make. I wasn't able to travel. I wasn't able to do the things in person. I don't know if we're going to be able to skate this weekend and, all of that kind of stuff. So I just needed to take a minute to recharge, rejuvenate, paint some shit, because it gives me a sense of control and certainty, which I think is absolutely important for all of us to experience. So that is our coffee run today. How do you find the way? How do you recharge? I would love to hear about that. And of course, if you have any questions, be sure to let us know. Otherwise, you know what you need to do. You need to get yourself out there, go help some people, have a whole ton of fun doing it. And remember that the world is ready for your kick-ass brand of awesome. I will see you tomorrow.